Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to True Crime in Real Time, folks.
Hi, happy faces. Hi, duck, duck, ducky.
Get to ducking point. Happy faces. It's nice to see y'all. Nice to see you, Ashley. Nice to see Eric.
Nice
Hello.
to be back. Nice to have my voice back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You sound so much better.
Yeah, I was like when I lose my voice, and it happens about like once or twice a year, but when I lose my voice, it's the most frustrating thing because I can't I will talk until it's dead.
Yeah. It's hard not to do that, right? Because you think it's just going to be just that end point. Like you don't know where the end point is.
Well, I kind of know now. I kind of know. I'm gonna run it to the ground, but like I will run it to the ground, right? Like I'm just like, whatever. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you can talk today
Yeah, that's to talk about. My gosh, true
because
crime went crazy today.
that was wild. Totally
Mhm.
wild. It took so many hours out of my morning before court started.
I was up at
Oh,
8 watching Ashley Benefield trial, too. I was up early.
yeah,
Oh, that was. Tell us
you guys
about
were
it.
going. Yeah, what happened there?
She got an appeal.
Good. We like that
Uh,
because we like her. This is the ballerina.
Yeah, we feel bad for her because she kind of, I don't know. I feel like she got a rough end of the stick.
yes, me too.
I
Hmm.
think we watched it, and I was thinking when we talked about it, it was we saw what we perceived as some pretty bad mental abuse.
Big time.
No,
Yeah.
the cousin was on it today. He was the one like trying to keep her like saying she doesn't deserve it. The same
What
cousin.
is
Oh,
that? The
what?
creepy guy who said he
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
see her?
Ew, I
yeah,
hate the cousin. Yuck.
Yeah, that was weird. That was
yeah.
super
He's the
weird.
one who
She's
wants
like
to,
young and gorgeous, and that was strange.
and he like hit on her too. Like he told her she
Hmm.
had the wrong Benefield.
Yeah, the whole family is like a weird family. Like the daughter's weird. She kept on storming in and out, and then she had this like crazy top where you could see her nipples, and like that was weird. And I mean, the whole family's just kind of off.
Yeah, yeah, definitely different. Definitely
Definitely
different.
different. Ha! Get to
Which,
decking point says, I bet your husband likes the silence. That's so funny.
well,
Mm.
anyway, she needs an appeal lawyer for like $100,000.
Oh, that's it.
So I think Melanie Little has a GoFundMe for her.
Cool.
Yeah,
I hope she gets it. I hope she gets a
yeah, me
chance.
too.
She deserves it.
In the scheme of things, there's gonna be like one or two like crazed fans who are probably someone's gonna probably give her that money. My
Oh, I
guess.
love
Or
it.
someone will take it on.
Yeah, yeah, a
Someone will
good
take it
lawyer.
on, and just want the fame. Could be because they can see like where her lawyer could have done better. Although I did think she had a good case, but she had a bad jury in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, yep. It was that weird not getting it motion that we watched that and we saw different creators have totally different opinions, right? We were like,
Yeah.
she's so oh no, we see it her anguish. Look how sad she is. And her on the stand was hard to watch. And then
Oh,
some
big
people
time.
were like, no, she killed him. Like it was hard. It was weird.
Yeah, that was really hard to watch. Yes, it's the DV woman out of Florida. Yes, it is. Get to Ducking Point. Yeah.
Yes, get to ducking
Yeah,
point.
well, a lot
Sorry.
of that stuff came up today, and the judge gave an appeal. So,
Good.
like the jury stuff came up, and all it was the cousin that was the one that was like trying to badmouth her.
Wow. That
I
family
forgot
never
his
quits.
I forgot
Crazy.
his name. I forgot what it was.
Creepy cousin.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he was like oddly too old and just so the whole thing was so odd to me. Yes, creepy cousin works because it
was it
was just too
Chris?
strange. I thought for some reason he was the uncle, but it doesn't really make a difference. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Was it
I'm
Brian?
glad that she is able to do this. I'm not going to be surprised in the slightest if somebody takes it on for her.
Yeah,
I
she's
I
got a
think.
little.
Go ahead.
I said she's got a little kid with no mother, no father.
Oh yeah, no, that's never good. Yeah, you'd hope some organizations out there who probably do just that, like help those just that specific kind of person, right? Like a single parent.
I think there's a grandma.
All right, still, and then we all wish the parent would be the person in charge, right? Like the person who was able to take care of their child.
She wanted that child too. Like that was her huge big thing, and that was like her big driving force is like she wanted a kid, and he had to have the reverse vasectomy. Like
Oh
she
wow.
really wanted to be a mom. Yeah. So
Oh.
like that's so heartbreaking too, because her kid's going to grow up with this like really shattered family, because the Benefields will be so, like, that's her maiden name, right? The Benefields, or did she take his name?
That's
That's his.
his
That's
name.
his name.
That's
That's his
his
name.
His
name.
name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh,
yeah.
that's crazy. Feel like I'd drop his name if I was like, yeah. It's weird that she has it, but whatever.
What is? Do we know her? Do we know her maiden
No,
name?
we don't. No.
All right. I'm sure it was
Yeah.
said in court at some point. Maybe it doesn't really matter. It's her name.
See, you guys were waiting for Idaho to start for like hours this morning, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, tentatively. Like I, every time I walked by the television, I was like, "All right, okay," and I kept thinking, like, if they didn't start before noon,
Mm-hmm.
then I knew they were going to have lunch,
Right.
and then I knew they weren't going to start after that for a little bit to like reconvene, like figure it out. But 2:30 was kind of funny, but it made for short amount of hearing to watch. It actually was it was good. It was great to watch today. I
Yep.
really like Judge Hippler. I know everybody really loves Anne, and I don't dislike any of the attorneys, to be honest, but I really love Hippler. He's very Boise. It's very funny to watch.
I love Hitler. He is such a good judge. He really he asks the questions that you wish someone would ask in real time. Like he doesn't wait until it's like the time for the other attorney to like raise a question. He just asks it right then and there, so it kind of speeds up the process, in my opinion. And
Hmm.
do we know what the beginning part of the day was? Like, is there any type of outline? Is there any type of like, did we get anything on what the beginning part of the super secret meeting was this morning?
Oh, I believe in and out of the hearing today, what we heard were things every once in a while. There were asides or mentions, I guess, of things that had been brought up earlier. So they must have been things that are not sealed already and just things that it was fine to mention it that way or something. It was weird because that's clearly on record. So the whole entire day is going to be on record. I don't know if that ever gets unsealed.
I don't know why it was sealed because they said a lot of the stuff. She was calling out the IGJ and calling the FBI corrupt in live today. So I thought that was the reason why they had it sealed, so she couldn't do that in public. But she was doing it today, so I don't even know.
Yeah.
Did you guys take away any bombshells from today? Like what? Like I know I did, but did
I
you
did too.
feel like there were some major bombshells? I feel like there were, and like if you don't watch the whole thing, you're obviously gonna miss it, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I got a list of them.
Okay,
Oh yeah,
cool.
Eric took notes, which is awesome because I was like, I'm gonna walk the dog. It was gorgeous today, so I took advantage of that. So it's kind of difficult. I was like, I'm just had it on cue on my phone on speaker, and I was doing things, and then I left for a while, and I came back. It was still on the TV, so that was good. But it was just kind of funny because uh, I don't know. I don't know if we. I don't know if we ever get to hear any of what happened earlier, but I know that I felt like a lot of things were shut down today, and I didn't feel like Anne had a lot of I'm gonna use the word courage, and maybe it's not the right word I'm looking for, behind a lot of her statements today. Like I
And
felt
had
she could
oh,
have been a lot stronger about a lot of things she was mentioning, but she
Mm-hmm.
kind of there was a time when the judge, what did he say? He said he was he wasn't going to challenge the Supreme Court's take this is not his wording, but he was basically saying he was going to challenge the Supreme Court's take on DNA or the DNA media or whatever those apps are or companies.
IGG or the
Yeah,
SPR.
yeah, the IGG, and it was just the look on his face was so rich, and the look on her face was so, to me, like a judge or a teacher almost talking to her. It was really kind of cool, but at the same time, it was very interesting just to see just the way they have discourse.
I think she had a bad beginning, but I think she finished off pretty strong.
Yeah, I'd agree there. Did you get to see any of it, Ashley?
So I took it to the spa with me, and I was getting a lash lift, and so it had to, like, I couldn't watch, but I could listen. And I was listening. I was like, like when something like big would happen. But it's cool because when your eyes are closed and you're just listening, like I was really listening, and his tone with Anne was really, in my opinion, shutting down a lot of her main talking points that she's had right from the beginning, like her talking points about his rights being trampled, and like the Fourth Amendment right about the DNA. He was like, no, because he just wasn't having it, because in my opinion, he kept on pushing back about it because she was saying like, well, there should be some expectation of privacy, or and his big thing was, well, it's a crime scene, number one. So no, there's no expectation of privacy there. But also whoever's DNA was being compared, their expectation of privacy, like they did give it up. Like they didn't get his DNA from the pool of DNA in the public DNA pool that was tested. It was a family member who had agreed to that. So he really challenged her main point. And I think a lot of the people that have been spouting this main point right from the beginning, I don't think the DNA is going to get thrown out. That's my personal opinion. I really don't. I think that this judge it would have to be so black and white for him to do that, and he's not seeing it black and white like that. He's towing the line. He's status quo, but he's also like, he is asking questions of the prosecution as well. And I really did not like that prosecution lady. And I hopped on Facebook. I hopped on the Facebook group, like, that disastrous Facebook group where there's like hundreds of thousands of people in it. And they were trashing the prosecution lady, like more so than they were Anne. So,
but not she's the man, not popular. Right?
The man was excellent. Yeah, he was excellent in my opinion. But the lady, no, she's a no.
Yeah, she was having a hard time. The court, I think it's what's kind of weird. So in that courtroom, I don't know which floor that's on, right? So I've been in a couple of the courtrooms in there now, and that courtroom looks deeper. I don't know what that means, like how many more how many more rows of seats it had, But I bet it's like deafeningly quiet in there. I bet it's hard to be the attorney and be a woman attorney, even talking at a possible death penalty trial in that courtroom. It's probably weird. It's probably super quiet and weird. I'm not gonna be like, almost like she didn't have a strong rebuttal for her body language, right? That's the problem.
Yeah. I think that she was going into the weeds a little bit and talking about arguments she didn't have to talk about. She was getting lost in other things, and he kept on having to bring her back into the current, like she didn't have to make a full case today. And she was, maybe we could watch some of it. Do we have any clips for the people that missed this and want to see just a snapshot? Maybe we could commentate on that.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what we have.
Are you guys cool with that? If we watch a little bit and then we'll all
what
chat.
What do you think, Chat and Eric?
Yeah. I'll get my summary when we're done. Yeah. I got a whole summary. I'll do it later.
Let's see here. I think should we watch that? Well, let's watch some Law and Crime.
Happy Faces says yes.
Yes. How about get to duck and point?
Duck.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so too. I honestly, there was a couple times when I didn't take any screenshots. I'll get a screenshot, put a community post. The judge's face one of the times when he looked at Anne.
Do you want me to send it to you? I have some awesome ones.
Oh, okay, yeah, just send them to me because
Yeah.
his face, man. I was like, wow. It was quite condescending at times, and then also quite like, it was. I mean, it wasn't bad, but his face was almost like guiding, which is weird for a judge, you know. Oh, let me let me find that video for us.
I love him so much. I'm actually really glad that they have him as a judge. I think he's going to keep them on track.
Absolutely, yeah. I like him a lot. He's great. I you know what I don't like? I'll be honest, there's that one creator that I do like. I'm not a fan of that person calling him Hitler. Like that's so strange to me. Like it's so negative.
Who called him? It's a creator that does that?
Yeah, it's Jay.
Jay Embry?
Mm-hmm.
Close to, oh, this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because he's.
And I know the name is clearly quite close, but I think that he deserves a better chance because I don't. Like,
that's because he has a narrative. That guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but still, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind.
He doesn't even understand that what he talks about has nothing to do with the trial. That guy. It's always, you know.
I'm with you, Ducky. I confess, if not already obvious, I don't like AT. Me too. She just rubs me wrong. I don't know why. I want to like her, and I know people absolutely love her. Like I know Lana is obsessed with her. I know a lot of creators just think she's like killing it. For me, she's just not. I've told you guys a lot of times she just lands flat for me. I don't like listening to her. I don't like how she's always looking for these sort of exclamation point moments. Like I feel like she's always looking for some kind of viral moment. And in her filings, a lot of the time, she was like always calling out the prosecution. Like instead of making a case, I feel like she's tried to make it really salacious in her own way. And I don't think she's doing him any favors. Like if she would just poke holes in the case instead of focusing on like this big conspiracy type of mindset, I think she would do better. And because with this judge, the conspiracy is not going to fly. He's not buying it. He's not buying conspiracies. He's not playing games. He wants the facts, and he just wants to head forward. Like we're not going on side quests, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he's definitely not buying the conspiracy, but
no. But the fringe people on the internet will, so he's down with that. I mean, I guess we're fringe, right?
And a jury might, but that's what she's got to worry about.
Yeah, we're technically fringe, yes.
Okay, but is Idaho fringe? Like, is Idaho conspiracy minded? You would know.
Oh, I mean, gosh.
See, they don't strike me as they would be. They seem kind of salt of the earth, like, no?
You know what?
That's me. I'm salt of the earth, like, you're right. I think, I think a lot of what we see in Idaho is Boise or outdoor stuff. And I don't think what outside sees is that stuff in northern Idaho that I've talked about before, which is like pretty much the Klan.
Oh, geez. Okay.
You know, like northern Idaho is like home of the Klan, basically.
Oh.
So it's kind of I laugh, clearly a not funny thing as usual for myself. But yeah, Aryan Nations. Thank you, Mr. Mandela.
Oh, I didn't think that. I thought the Aryan Nation liked to be down south more, but maybe I'm wrong.
We are Idaho is the south of the north. Yeah.
Okay.
I believe that's what it said. There's definitely a saying around here. I believe it's something like that. Like we're the Mississippi of the North, maybe.
Ruby Ridge. Okay, Mr. Mandela. Wow. Okay, I'm learning something today. I wouldn't have thought that. I thought you guys were straight up people.
Well, that's because you talked to me.
Okay. Well,
What
no,
about?
it's not because I talked to you. It's because you guys are
I'm just kidding.
Northwest. Like the Northwest, like I think we're all kind of on that same line, like the Seattle, like I think,
Yeah, totally,
yeah.
totally. Yeah, no, it's same. It's kind of the same outlook of personalities. I would agree there. I would
Hmm.
agree that the Pacific Northwest has a thing.
We hike, we have dogs.
Yeah, it's a thing. Maybe people do that in other places, but probably not in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. I think I can't. Quincy's playing with a toy, so I'm to avoid this sound for us.
I heard his ears. I heard his like, when dogs like shake their heads and they get the ear flap. I heard the ear flap. It's so cute.
Totally, totally. He was totally asleep. Got some walks in today, and then we started talking, and of course,
What's
yeah,
up?
that's Weaver. That's Ruby Ridge. That's here. Ruby Ridge here. Yep.
Cool.
What is it? What's his? The Mark Freeman. Not Freeman. That's the wrong name. Furman.
Furman, yeah.
Yeah, he lives here.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
lives
does he?
here.
Oh, he relocated.
He lives in northern Idaho, someplace around where some of the parents live for some of these kids.
Cool.
Yeah, beautiful. No, I mean, like I've been through northern Idaho twice, past Moscow. Like really, I don't really need to go through northern Idaho for anything. So I don't know what it's like, but I would assume it's not very comfortable for a lot of people. Like I hear like sundowners type situations in some of the towns that are small, but again, these could be total assumptions and BS things. But I'd say 98% of the rest of us are really nice. Like overly nice, and I don't notice it in other states. I notice it here, and I've never noticed it in other states that were way too nice. Too nice.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. Okay, so which one do you want to watch first? Are we
Oh
gonna
yeah.
watch some court or do you want to watch some News Nation?
I
Which
want to watch this. The judge slams Kohberger's defense over the DNA part.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I think
Yes.
that's the biggest takeaway from today, as far as like the vibe, the mood, you know?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. That's what I was thinking too. Let's see. How's that look? All right. Let's see here.
Okay, so we're gonna watch a few minutes of this and get some takeaways, I think, right?
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is just this video itself is kind of a good recap. What'd you say, Ashley? The meat and potatoes.
Yep. Yep.
The good parts. So we're gonna play some of it. Yeah, we'll comment. We'll comment through. I'm not gonna play it all the way through. Here you go.
Your Honor, our position is that the court should suppress the IgG identification and everything that flows from that. This is supported by Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, due process, Article 1, Section 17 of the Idaho Constitution. Your Honor, there was no warrant for several phases of the search that led to the IgG work, investigative genetic genealogy. And we think every single one of those stages, a warrant was required, none was given, and so this must be suppressed. Your Honor, I'd like to identify the 3 stages, and they are when Idaho State Police Forensics Lab, through Moscow Police Department, moved a DNA sample, Othram Laboratories, to develop a profile to run through genetic genealogy investigations. There was no warrant for that search for a SNP profile that could be used to attempt to identify somebody. The next stage would be when that was transferred to the FBI for their forensic investigative genetic genealogy work to try to identify somebody. No warrant was in place for that work either. Finally, there was a trash pull in Pennsylvania, and there was no warrant for that trash pull either. All 3 of those stages of this case, there should have been a warrant and there wasn't, and this must be suppressed. Your Honor,
Is that what you were talking about before? Like, not that strong of a presence there.
I mean, when you think about how huge it is, what she's asking,
Uh-huh.
she's literally asking for probably the biggest piece of, like that ties it all together to
Uh-huh.
be suppressed. And she's not really giving a lot of case law.
Correct. I thought that was super strange. I actually thought that was one of the first things I noticed was that she had zero case law.
Right.
And I thought, and the prosecution had instant case law, really valid case law the first time he spoke. So I watched and I thought, that's not going to fly. If she's not, this case isn't going to the Supreme Court. It's not going to the district court. She's not going to start setting precedents.
Right. Right. And I mean, this is what she wants, but she's not able to make a case as to like any precedent of this ever happening in the past. And she's really just kind of throwing it out there like this is my Christmas wish list.
Right. No, absolutely. It was absolutely like a Christmas wish list. It was It was weird because that's all I that was all I was thinking when she was talking. I was thinking, bring me a case. Show me a case in Idaho where we've seen this before. Show me anything. And she didn't. And I thought, nope, this isn't going anyplace. And the judge wasn't falling for it. He didn't have any of it.
Eric, anything else?
She's trying to have a Frank's motion right now with what she's talking now, and it's not the time for that. She needs to win to get that motion. She's like wants to call the cops corrupt on the way they got the DNA, but that's why you get a Frank's motion to give that case, and she's trying to give that case before she
don't even know
Frank's motion.
Bingo.
Do we even know she got one?
No, she didn't get one.
Right. Or Eric, was that you were taking notes? She didn't get one, but tomorrow are they going to?
It's not over. It's not over.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But the prosecution to defend the Frank's motion was awful. She didn't defend her not getting it. She was terrible. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Her defense on the Frank's motion was bad. The prosecution. She had nothing to back up any of her stuff.
There was a couple times when I kind of thought, I know it's not a kangaroo court necessarily, but I did kind of think like, if you don't have anything to back up this statement, that's odd. That's pushing something where I'm not seeing this possibly going. And then when the prosecution came up for a rebuttal, I thought, yeah, this is interesting because he pretty much pulled up exactly what I was thinking was what the court needs, because the judge can't make any decisions like that.
Also,
Eric, can you define a Frank's motion for Ducky?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. A Frank's motion is where did I write it down? Oh, the police are either like didn't turn over evidence that they say they used, or they just basically are lying about how they got the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a Frank's motion asks the court for a Frank's hearing, and then you can contest the truthfulness of the affidavit, like in support of the search warrant. So it's pretty much like you're basically calling them liars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So she basically completed a Frank's motion today, and now we're waiting for the Frank's hearing if it's possible. Right.
And you know what else though? I mean, that just goes to show that she's not very professional, because professionalism would say she would make her argument, she would keep out the meat and potatoes of her Frank's hearing, like information or, her opinions, which I think it's just mostly her opinions and her feelings. And then if she did get granted a Frank's motion or Frank's hearing, she would then come with some like heavy duty information, like facts, you know, but instead she's kind of weaving the facts in with her, you know, insinuations that the police were corrupt. And
Well,
it's falling very flat for me at least.
I agree with what she's saying, but she's not presenting it right, and the judge ain't hearing it. That's the bottom line. The judge ain't hearing it.
Yeah.
What she's saying is the truth. That's the way they got his name. But he's not buying it. He's not going for it.
And it was weak. Her arguments felt weak to me, to be honest. Brian looks a little diminished back there in that chair, and not the way she was talking. I'm still thinking this leads to something like a guilty, some other plea. You know what I
All
mean?
the evidence they like used his name like the DNA. They got his name and then they made everything else match.
They literally That's so funny. Oh man, yeah. But the judge made that point today. Like there, that there's a reason that DNA is there, no matter how it got there. If he can't explain how it's there, there's a reason it's there.
It's minuscule though. It's real minuscule, very small.
Yeah.
Should we watch a little more?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Honor, for the purposes of the Fourth Amendment protections and Article 1, Section 17 of the Idaho Constitution, we are looking to see if somebody has a privacy interest that society is ready to support. In this case, if society is not ready to support suppression of every bit of our DNA when the government does not have a warrant and searches it, there is no privacy right left.
Do you have any cases that hold that?
I do not have any cases that hold that, nor do I have any to the contrary that say that's not the case. Your Honor, this is a situation where this identification was done in complete secret behind closed doors, and it's been continued to be a secret. And that should raise red flags for Your Honor about privacy interests that are at stake. The court can see from the various affidavits in this case that there's a lot of things done that don't say how Mr. Kohberger was identified. And the reason for that is because nobody wanted to talk about what happened here with the genetic genealogy. That search was done by making a profile in Othram Lab. That search did not lead anywhere. The FBI took over the search, and from there they did things that we have no idea what it is. That entire segment of this case is secret. We have been through several motions to compel to try to get information, and we've gotten very, very little information. The court should know that we learned today about policies and procedures of Othram that we have not been able to take a look at. Those have not been produced. In fact, we've been told they don't exist. We learned about investigative work that was done after Othram had done the work that they could do and before the FBI took over, that we learned about for the first time this week. Not the motion to compel process. This was a giant secret. When we get to the FBI, we don't know who did the work. You heard that any of that information is redacted. We don't know who did the work. It's a giant secret. We know that by the time the FBI gets involved, the profile, the text file, that's a snip to use to try to identify somebody is more than twice as big when it gets to the FBI from Othram. We don't know how. We don't have any notes. We don't know who did any of the work. We don't have any lab protocols. We don't have any quality assurances. It's not reliable.
You're not asserting that Mr. Kohberger's DNA sample was uploaded into any of those databases, that his was, like, for example, his own DNA was one that was matched from the crime scene. Not asking whether the crime scene DNA was uploaded, but whether he had, as a, for example, customer of one of these companies, uploaded his DNA.
Well, Your Honor, I don't have the jed.com file. I don't have,
You're not asserting that fact, correct?
Your Honor, I'm not sure what the court is asking me.
Well, it goes to whether or not your client has standing to complain about the searches of the databases, because as the state has posited, that wasn't his DNA that was searched. At best, it was his ancestors.
Well, Your Honor, I am not sure why we're here if the state hasn't alleged that Brian Kohberger's DNA was on the knife
No,
sheet.
I'm not talking about the knife sheath DNA. I'm talking about what they tried to match it to.
Your Honor, I would answer it this way. The way that those databases work is looking for shared DNA. Those databases don't churn out a name and say this is
I have
your
a privacy
suspect.
interest against any of my relatives that might want to upload their DNA to one of those systems. I should be able to stop them from doing that because I share some DNA with them.
That is certainly not what I'm saying. What I am saying, Your Honor, is if somebody takes your DNA and uploads it, I think you have a privacy interest in your own DNA.
Not necessarily in, let's say my DNA is taken lawfully. What privacy interest do I have in the search of the DNA of others?
That's a loaded question.
Why is it a loaded question? Isn't it a factual question?
Well, it is, Judge, but you're assuming that the DNA was taken lawfully, and our position.
I agree. That part is an assumption. In my hypothetical, I said my DNA was taken lawfully. Why would I have standing to object to the search of other people's DNA simply because I might share some genetic information with them because they are distantly related to me?
Well, Your Honor, our position is that this work was not done lawfully, that it was unlawful, that there needed to be a warrant, that this was done outside of a warrant. And I'm not asserting on behalf of anybody else in this, any relative, anybody who might have been named or not named. This is about an identification process. It needed to be a lawful process. It wasn't a lawful process. It was in violation of Mr. Kohberger's rights. I don't know how he cannot.
How is it in violation of his rights?
Excuse me?
How is it in violation of his rights?
Well, Your Honor, he's been in custody
You're
for
saying
2
that,
years.
I understand your position, which frankly is not well supported in the law, that if hypothetically here, he went to this crime scene, committed these murders, and left DNA on a piece of evidence, that he now has the ability to object to that evidence being searched for identification purposes. There's no case that suggests that concludes that. And it seems to me to be an extreme position to take in light of the case law. And I'm trying to understand how you get there.
Well, I
This
think
is
Your
the
Honor is
biggest
asking
point.
me about
Yeah.
things that I anticipated the state would argue, their abandonment theory. And I would remind the court that the Ross case said that abandonment is a knowing intentional leaving of something, for one thing. For the other thing, I think that the court is asking me to take a position where it feels like burden shifting to me.
No, I'm trying to understand the legal argument and how this is different from example from latent fingerprints.
Well, Your Honor, I think that things like latent fingerprints and like CODIS, there's statutes about CODIS in Idaho, about what's allowed in CODIS. This is a different search. This isn't an STR search. That's what happens in CODIS. This is a different search.
So I'm going now to, I'm sorry, the constitutionality of using the DNA that was allegedly on the knife sheath. And because I understand your argument is twofold. One, your client complains that a search was done of databases of other people to determine whether or not any of them might be related to the person who left the DNA on the knife sheath. That's thing one. Thing two is an objection to the law enforcement searching the DNA by testing it and getting a profile from the knife sheath without a warrant. My question goes to that latter point, understanding the basis for that, because I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
Well, I think in our briefing, Your Honor, that we cited the court to some cases.
I did, I think, one concurring opinion in a case that held otherwise.
Your Honor, I was going to talk to the court about third-party data, and I was going to talk to the court about the Davis case that talked about something that the police lawfully had and a subsequent test, the Skinner case, when there's something that's lawfully held, but there's a subsequent test. So those are the things that I want to talk about. Okay. Our first point is it was an illegal search. And this is if
search, which search?
Assumption.
Which search? It was illegal.
Yeah.
First the snip at Othram, then the snip at the FBI, and then the trash pool.
So you're talking about the DNA testing of the material left allegedly on the knife sheet.
I'm talking about the Idaho State Police Forensics Lab taking a piece of evidence given to them by Moscow Police Department, collected at the scene, developing a STR profile, uploading it into CODIS, and I think that's the King case that says that's fine. I know Idaho has statutes on CODIS, uploading it there and producing nothing. There are no results there. I'm talking about the next set of moves that are super secret that happen when there's a portion of the DNA taken and it's searched by Othram to create a snip. And then when that doesn't produce anything, the FBI says, okay, here we go. Let's search the snip ourselves. That's what I'm talking about. Those are the problems. As far as asserting family
specific DNA tests of the sample that goes from legitimate to illegitimate?
Yes, Your Honor, I think the Davis case is on point. If the court's theory that this is a lawful piece of evidence taken from the crime scene, the sheath.
Not my theory. I'm just trying to understand your position in light of the case law and in light of the state's arguments. I'm trying to find where the gristle is in this.
I'm adopting the court's hypothesis for this purpose, that the knife sheath was taken. I'm adopting it only for that purpose, and I'm relying on the Davis case that says subsequent searches need a warrant.
And remind me, Davis was the cell phone?
No, Davis was not the cell phone. Davis was blood, a sample with blood. The cell phone case is
Give
Carpenter.
me the site to that.
I'm sorry?
Can you give me the site to the Davis case?
I can. Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds and glasses.
Ryan looks diminished sitting on there in the corner.
Right.
And I apologize because my memory tends to be fact-based and not name-based, and so that's my liability.
Well, it's going to take me just a second. I apologize. I apologize. I wrote the name down, but not the site in my notes, but I know it's cited in our briefing. I can't remember what page. It is 690 F 3rd 226.
Go ahead.
All right. And so those are the 3 areas that we believe that there should have been a search warrant and there wasn't.
Is that Payne
There
back
is an
there?
expectation of privacy.
I think
in
so.
One's DNA.
I think he was there in the earlier part of the day.
And I think I'd talked to the court a little bit about the things that happened in this case that were super secret. I think we'd gotten to the point where we were talking, and this goes to recognizing an expectation of privacy when there's all of this secrecy surrounding it. We had gotten to the FBI where the SNP profile was twice as big as that from Othram. And then the FBI went into databases that violate the Department of Justice interim policy. You heard a lot about that Department of Justice interim policy, and that policy it's on page 6 of that particular exhibit that the court has. It says that they're not to go into databases that aren't allowed. And they did that. The court has that in another exhibit.
How's that a constitutional violation?
Your Honor, it goes to privacy.
Suppressed for contractual violations or even statutory violations.
I'm not suggesting that we do that. I'm suggesting that that's information that's pertinent to this court in making a very important decision as to whether somebody's Fourth Amendment rights were violated, as well as Article 1, Section 17 of the Idaho Constitution. The purpose of offering that information is because there's a policy, so there's a recognized expectation of privacy in what's contained in a SNP. In a SNP at all, there has to be a warrant to search these types of things, and there wasn't. There would be no need to have any policy if nobody cared about this. The court heard about the different IGG databases that changed their rules in terms of use after a different case used IGG to solve it because people don't expect to have their DNA searched.
That was the point of my question about whether or not Mr. Kohberger's DNA was in any of those databases. In other words, did he submit his DNA and said, I don't want law enforcement to look at it?
Your Honor, I don't think that that's the way the question should be looked at. I think the question should be looked at in the way that we always look at warrantless searches.
Got to be a standing.
Your Honor, we're here because the state has alleged that a single piece of evidence ties Mr. Kohberger to this case. They've alleged that there's a knife sheath that has DNA that they allege matches Brian Kohberger. He's now been incarcerated for 2 years, facing capital murder. I'm not sure, unless we're shifting the burden to me, what else I can say.
Well, you have a burden of showing that the items ought to be suppressed.
This is a warrantless search. There's no justification for this search.
Right. Assuming a warrant is required for this type of inquiry.
Well, Your Honor, we think it is. And we think it is based on case law, third-party doctrine case law, that's Carpenter. Thinking about cell phones, that's the Riley case. If you have a cell phone that gets taken at an arrest out of a car, a subsequent warrant to search the cell phone is required. So we think a warrant was required for these subsequent searches. And there was no warrant in this case. There's an expectation of privacy.
I struggle with, well,
Your entire argument.
I struggle, to
Yeah.
be frank, and where you're going to have to try to convince me, I guess, is I struggle with the idea that DNA left at a crime scene, that there's any expectation of privacy by someone who leaves DNA at a crime scene, that DNA can't be, as you say, searched without a warrant to establish identity.
I think that's the
Well,
key
Your
right
Honor,
there.
I don't think
Yeah.
any of us can go out of our houses without leaving
In
DNA
your
all over the
closet?
place.
Yeah.
Not go to a crime scene.
The question of how something
Yeah. Yeah. Huge key.
He's
Come on.
keeping it
That
so
was like
simple. Yeah.
that was the takedown of that. Like I wish he just said that. Like, look, that's the look on his face when I just paused it right now, where he's
Yeah.
like, come on.
And
Yeah.
that's why she ain't gonna win that argument, because that's what he thinks, and that's logic.
And
And he's stuck
Traffic,
on it's at a crime scene, it's fair game, it's at a crime scene, and people have to do what they have to do to pull DNA at a crime scene. And I'm sorry, lady, but if your defendant there has his DNA at a crime scene, there's no assumption that there's any privacy or any worry about his little rights, because we're worried about 4 dead people.
correct.
And you know what? If she has the DNA expert will debunk that DNA that they have anyway. It's not enough. It's not enough.
Right.
But she should have a DNA expert to prove that. I don't know why she's going crazy over this.
Yeah. No, that's
It's
such
not
a good
enough
point.
DNA.
The brass buckle.
Yeah, they're
There's-
gonna have to fight the DNA in court, but they're gonna have to do it in court. The DNA is getting in. Got into the PCA. It got this
100%.
far. You know, they're not gonna throw everything out all of a sudden right now. It's the PCA. It's already there. It's the PCA. It's you know, it's what the prosecution has based a lot of their circumstantial evidence on, and they're just gonna have to battle out the DNA in court. That's what it's gonna have to be.
You know why
I-
they don't want to do it in court? It probably costs like $50,000 for a DNA expert.
All right. I thought the prosecution came back pretty strongly with not that like that's not the case. Like they're not even worried about they're not worried about even if they throw out the DNA.
To me, that shocked me. That shocked me. They were
Me
like,
too. Me
yeah,
too.
that actually was a big shocker. I don't know if
Me
it's going
too.
to be on our clip, but for those of you that missed it, they said, you know, we can argue about this, but this isn't really going to be the main focus of our case. And I was like, what's the focus
Yeah.
of your case?
You know why?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know why? Because it's not a big enough sample.
Right. It's a touch DNA. Touch DNA is going to be talked about. It's going to be probably 3 days of them explaining touch DNA to us and arguing about it. But at the end of the day, I'm very curious what their other information is.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Alexa. A lot of people are saying Alexa.
Uh-huh. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that if anybody in that house had any Alexa, anything, his phone would pick it up. Even if it didn't connect, the phone would. Even if I don't know if he did. If you didn't have Bluetooth on, maybe it wouldn't connect. But I think if you just had Wi-Fi on at all, had the phone on at all, you may get even if you're not like purposely getting detected. The signal probably picks it up no matter what. Even
Well,
if
it
you
could
don't
pick
know.
it up on Kaylee's phone, and Kaylee's phone's not been returned yet, right?
Correct. Oh yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, well, I learned today they have a lot of evidence that we don't know about. Just today, in like an hour, they said a bunch of things that we did not know about. So there's probably a lot of things.
Oh yeah. The testimony from the roommate.
Big time, big time.
Mhm.
Ducky
Blood
has
on
to
the banner
step out,
stuff?
so let's wait till Ducky's back because I think that's
Okay.
gonna be big.
Yeah.
So Ducky, let us know when you're back. But that's gonna be so major. I think today, I don't know if they were supposed to bring all that stuff in today, but it got brought in. I mean, it got talked about, and it felt like bombshells to me. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
There was definitely a time when I was like, do I need to? Did the judge honestly say that that would be because there may have been another person there?
Yeah,
Was like the boom for me. I'm like, what? Did he
threw
just?
reasonable doubt right out there today. Reasonable doubt.
Yeah, for real. They did. They threw out like 5 scenarios. I was like, oh my God. Yeah, but that there could be another person. Few minutes of the trial, I tried to go back and find it and make a bookmark for us, but it was.
Get two's back.
Oh, there you are.
Back. All right. You wanna take it away, Eric, with some of the bombshells that we heard?
Yeah, tell us.
Okay. First, blood on the banister, like this.
Yeah.
And what else? Dog barking afterwards for 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
No blood on the dog. Supposedly, one of the victims was running down the stairs.
Yeah.
That was a shocker, wasn't it?
That would have been Xana, right?
Yeah.
No, I think
No.
Kaylee.
One of the other girls from upstairs.
Oh, really? Okay. I took it to mean Xana because they said second floor and then running down the stairs.
Oh,
Interesting.
I took it to me
I
running to the second floor, so we'll have to.
I took it running down the stairs by Dylan's room from the 3rd floor.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like that. Remember when we had that 3D scenario thing? When we could see coming down the stairs. Go on ahead, Eric.
supposedly they said the person was like 5'8".
Right, which is not, which is he's 6 foot something. Yes.
And that's
Oh
a
yes.
statement by DM.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
DM said she was drunk, and she has memory problems also.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was interesting. Of I was drunk and I just didn't know if I was dreaming. Type
Yeah, I
statement.
took down the exact,
Awesome.
yeah, the quote
Thank you.
that she quoted. Hold on, I'll find it. If Eric wants to keep going.
Uh, trying to think. I think I might have
Oh
said
yeah,
everything I
happy
wrote.
faces. The dog was in the room that had the blood, and
Oh,
the door was open or whatever. Yeah, that's so gross. The poor dog. I feel.
Murphy.
But he had no blood on him, the dog.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, yeah. I don't. Those are things I don't want to think about. I think those are the parts I don't want to know.
Oh, they found a bloody glove outside. I never heard that.
Uh-huh. That was definitely different. And the judge said something about when you could easily just pack all your clothes up and get them that way and nothing, no DNA would be in the car. He's like,
Yeah.
well, you could easily. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Well, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so this was a direct quote from Dylan.
Mhm.
So I took it down. She said, in her interview, she said, quote, "I don't know half this stuff. I don't know if it was a dream or real."
Yeah.
And also, there's a lot of she herself. Now, this is coming from Anne, of course, so you got to remember there's a twist on it
Yeah.
because obviously Anne's putting her own twist on it. But she admitted to being, under the influence. And we don't know what that influence was. We don't know if it was drinking. We don't know if it was drugs. We don't know how extreme that influence was. And apparently, they can see from the interview that the police had rephrased a lot of what she had said, which is what we had
No
speculated was
way.
clad in black, etc. Right?
Right.
So,
Right.
um,
Right.
you know, they had rephrased majority of what showed up in the PCA, and I mean, I think that's going to be interesting because it will come out in trial what she actually said. She'll obviously be a witness, so will Bethany, and they're going to have to stick with their story one way or another. So to me, I mean, eyewitness accounts are the worst evidence, period, because you could have people that weren't high or drunk or in the dark or woken up in the middle of the night, and they're all going to have completely different stories, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So, an eyewitness account to me, although it's compelling and people think, oh, well, if they saw it with their own two eyes, but if you get two or three people seeing the exact same thing, you're going to get three different accounts altogether. Um, I think what's going to be more compelling than their eyewitness account will be their text messages, because we do know that the roommates were text messaging throughout. This is obviously a bit of a side quest right now, but because it's not what the court was pertaining to today. But I do think that it will come up in court, and a lot of the interesting evidence that the um, prosecution will be based a lot on what the roommates have to say and what they witnessed, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
There's
I was
also a. Oh,
just wanted to get to Ducking Point's question here about the bloody glove from interview room. I did see that, and that wasn't part of that wasn't anything to do. I know he turned it in. But he picked up the jacket and stuff, right?
That was awesome when he found it. I remember seeing that live.
Yeah, yeah. So I know he like it clearly gave them everything he had, but I think that glove was just a glove. Like I don't think it was anything for evidence. But hey, never know. We never know. Anyway, go ahead, Eric. What were you going to say?
she said the timeline is off 7 minutes.
Yeah, that was weird. What's that all about?
People say that ain't a lot of time, but they basically said these murders took place in 7 minutes. So
Right? Yeah, is that what it is? 11 minutes? 7 minutes.
yeah, well, And it could be the screwing the cars up because like they're going by the cars, and that's what she's saying. If that's his car, that timeline they're saying it's his car is off by 7 minutes. Like
There's got to be more cameras on that road for
100%.
there's got to be cameras up and down the road. We don't have the same camera system as you guys do, either of you guys. I think there's going to be a lot more cameras in Vancouver or like in Canada or whatever. And I think that Eric, where you're at, you guys probably have a lot of cameras too. I don't know how many cameras are up there, you guys, but I think cameras that are on the front of their houses are going to be there. That house across the street.
Well, Steve G said that they were loaded to the max with cameras, right? So
yeah.
Steve G really seems to think that's going to be major. Now, we do also have a brief interview with Steve. Steve came out today and was pretty encouraged by what he'd seen today. The father, Kaylee's father, he's known as Steve G. And it sounds to me like, now I'm sus of Steve in some regard, not with all the stuff that has been speculated on him, but I think that they could be sharing a little bit too much info with him because he seems to know a little something about what the other evidence is. If he doesn't, he's definitely bluffing that he does.
Yeah.
he has his own private investigator too. Shannon Gray.
Right. Well, so he might have bullied them into giving him their evidence by trying to find it out on his own, which is not good. But my question to you guys is, like, a lot of this information came in today that had nothing to do with the IGG and staying on track. Do you think that they went off track today? And if so, do you think that violates the gag order in any way?
Oh no.
No, you know why?
I think they would have bleeped it. I would be surprised if there's some sort of delay, since it's from the courtroom, and I think they would have, muted it.
And she was picking apart the PCA, saying that they said this, and this in other interviews, and this is what is in the PCA. She went after the PCA today, hardcore.
See, I think that what she said today violated the gag order. I think that leaking what the roommates had said and leaking that their statements didn't match the PCA, I think that was her getting information out there that wasn't supposed to be out there.
I don't think you can't violate the gag order in court.
Yeah, they can.
It's
They can leak information. She's leaking information to us that we wouldn't have otherwise known.
But it's court. Like, that's what I mean. It's for court and only for court. That was I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm just
like
saying.
you, Eric. You're insinuating it's leaked to the public, but not when they talk about it in court. That's why they didn't leak it before. Right now, she's
not at lunch talking about it. She's in court, in front of the judge.
It's a public court, so I mean, he can't stop her mid argument and say don't say that, but she's able to get information out there by using it as part of her argument in court, and it's not information that we were privy to before, and they weren't supposed to be giving us additional information.
I know.
Possibly. I would think the other side would object.
Yeah. I thought the prosecution did great today.
I thought they did too.
Yeah.
Everybody but the last one.
Yeah, and I bet she's not in this clip because it's not that much longer, right? Like she's there. She was on after the first guy, so I just think I think that both sides are testing the waters of the courtroom a little bit too.
I'm glad for extra information too, Ducky. I just thought, I know Anne is she's been shady in my opinion. This is my opinion of her. is that she tries to, if she can't do something one way, she tries to get it out another way. And I think this was her way of casting doubt and adding more doubt and adding more chatter in the sphere of public opinion by
Hmm.
adding that information about DM and her state and that she shouldn't be trusted and that, like adding that information in because it wasn't on topic today.
Agreed. What do you think, Eric?
Uh, I don't know. She's trying to make people look corrupt, so she's gonna bring out. She's trying to say the PCA was bull and make it look like it was fabricated, and she's pulling out all her punches to do that.
I didn't feel like it went over well with the judge. I didn't feel
No.
like for any of her
I don't think
arguments.
anything she said went over well with the
No,
judge.
exactly. I didn't think any of her arguments were strong enough. I was a little disappointed in most of her arguments because, again, back to no case law brought into it, and try to set precedents with this guy who, like, real clearly, like Eric said, he's not having it. He's not having it.
No. And they really did this case a favor by changing judges. This judge is staying on track. He's asking questions as they go. He's not letting them go on tangents without like backing up their arguments. I feel like Judge had no timeline. He let lots of weird stuff be filed without challenging it or, you know, like asking for them to back it up with facts. And this judge is very real time challenging and she's really showing that she just doesn't have a lot of backup in her arguments, in my opinion. That's just my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. I'm not overwhelmed by Anne. I know that there are a lot of big Anne fans, and so there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me, and that's totally fine. I just don't find her compelling.
I don't. I thought it was really interesting. I know I've told you guys about this before. I've talked about it just real briefly. There was a case that she was the defense for here. That were some people that I had met in the past who were murdered, and she got that guy off. I think he got 30 years because he pled guilty, but they went through the trial before he pled guilty. I mean, it wasn't like a plea before it started, and I don't know. I don't think it was plea. I could be very wrong. Actually, take that back. Maybe it was because I think that was probably part of the death penalty phase, right? So that was probably part of it. I didn't watch it because it wasn't streamed like anything like this. It was in a really small town, but she got him off. Really, she got him 30 years fixed. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
possibility of parole after 30 years. The guy was only like 20 something though.
something Ducky said that really stuck with me from a couple weeks back was the Alfred plea.
Yep.
And I wonder as this continues to roll on and the DNA stays in, if the DNA stays in, as small as the sample as it may be, you have to think about public perception. And like public perception isn't great when it comes to, having your DNA at a crime scene. And even if it is touch DNA, you really have to think about the general public and how the general public understands things,
Agreed.
I don't know that he wants to face the death penalty.
I don't think he would want to. Why would anybody?
Wants to chance it. Yeah, I don't feel that he does.
No, and yeah, no, I agree with you completely. That's very it's, I don't know. I like this all the true crime channels. The house could be the target point. I thought today the whole again. That could be somebody else's. You didn't even touch on the DNA of the other two people, the unknown male DNA, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're talking about that right now.
Right.
Well,
it was a weird case. I mean, the house was the target. There was no no concern for the public, like it was a targeted attack. A lot of strange phrases right in the beginning that I don't know how they could have known, really.
Yeah,
Well,
we want to get to both of those things. We've been talking about that actually,
I don't
Ducky.
think the house was the target.
To the back to the Alfred plea discussion for sure,
Mm-hmm.
because that's seriously. Is it a possibility? Sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I'd like to know, because I think it was Ducky who told us that Anne has a background of putting on these shows, and then in the last minute they do the Alfred plea. I think I'm remembering that correctly. Exactly in that 50 College Party House, how Ellie only came up with 3 DNA samples
Yeah,
there.
I
So
thought so
yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
I thought the same thing too. We kept talking about that. I don't know how many times we've said the stack of cups. There was like a huge stack of solo cups. So we were like, but there's a huge stack of cups. There's only 3 DNAs, but there's a huge stack of cups.
You gotta remember, Xana's mom and Maddie's dad were drug addicts, and they ratted people out.
Yeah, that's still such a. I mean, even watching this now, it's kind of like, what do they have? What does the prosecution possibly have? That's not that DNA. It's got to be some digital evidence, and that's the way this is going to go. Because other than that, all those other possibilities, Eric, could they be brought to court?
Not in this trial, but
Do you guys want a quote from Ann Taylor today that
Yes,
is
please.
around on X?
Yes, please.
Okay, quote. They violated my client's privacy rights when they found a knife sheath with his DNA on it under the body of possibly the first victim. Ann Taylor.
I love the judge's response. I love the judge's response to that, where he was like, "Well, I mean, is at the crime scene. It is a piece of evidence at the crime
yeah.
scene."
Yeah, like she's just so out of her league in that, like I mean, I get what she's trying to say, but he's not gonna agree to that.
No,
The blood on the handrail inside the 122 King Road house was not tested, and it remains unknown male, meaning
no, come
Brian
on,
and
come
not
on,
Ethan. That's
come on.
that's
Do they
Jules
have the
Jules
handrail?
of
What's
True
that
Crime.
mean?
Well, Jules for True Crime has that tweeted that out about an hour ago.
All right, I saw that she was streaming it. I saw her channel was streaming the trial today. So she said what now?
They said blood several times. So this is what she said. She said there was blood found on the handrail inside 122 King Road house that was not tested. It remains unknown male,
All
meaning
right.
not Brian and not Ethan. What the fuck?
And that's what, and the judge again led to that point of like, well, wouldn't we make the assumption in that case that somebody else could have been there also? Not that he wasn't there, but that also somebody else could have been there.
Now, question for you guys, does it matter? Like, does it matter if somebody else did this with him? Like, if somebody else did this with him, why can't he cough it up?
Well, he should, yeah.
Not yet. Why cup it up now?
Do we think that he ever said that? Was anybody else arrested? I mean, that's never really been verified, but that was something Brian Enton said right away, right?
And then Ducky says it's not tested. Then how did they know it's male?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Unknown male blood on the handrail inside the house on glove outside.
I mean, there's nobody in the system.
These are the things the state don't want you to talk about. Was someone else in the house with Brian Kohberger, or was someone else in the house and he wasn't there at all? Why doesn't the family want to know that? That's 2 additional people with DNA at the crime scene. Not saying BK did or didn't do it, but you must tell me why no one, including the state, investigators, and victims' families, don't care who else. DNA was there. It's blood. The sheath didn't have BK's blood on it.
There was 100 people there the night before at the party, though. So like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean there'd been 1,000 people there if you went by how many people have been through that house in the last month.
I mean,
Let's be honest. College.
yeah, like it's like could be anybody's blood.
I mean, they're college kids. That was a party house. They were renting by the room, practically, right? They didn't have a full lease. They each had a room.
Like even the DNA, it's like they got on the sheath. They had to go through IGG to find that it was connected to him. Like that's, they had to send it out to another company to find it. It's like,
Yeah, that's
and that's not 100% dead on match. That's what she's trying to fight.
right. Ducky was asking about that other case that she had, the Rick Ross. Well, that's him. 2 counts of first-degree murder in Lewiston. He killed his son. I think he killed his girlfriend and her son. And then he took the Alford plea. Yep.
She's such a good lawyer. Why is she a public defender?
Well, I guess it's objective, huh?
No answer to that.
Yeah, crickets.
Do you guys think that this whole 2-day court is gonna make this Idaho 4 thing more divisive or less divisive?
I don't know.
I say more divisive because this is why the gag order was somewhat of a good thing, was because, we get little tidbits, and from tidbits, people extrapolate a whole shit ton, right? And now we're getting a couple more tidbits, and from this, there's going to be so much speculation. Now it's all going to be about blood on the banister. It's all going to be about DM and her potential statements, whatever, which we already kind of knew she was, there's no perfect witnesses. There's no perfect victims, right? You have to go with what you have. It's a crime scene, right? And I think at some point, and this is where I've come to after 2 years of following this case and like going from like, he's definitely innocent to now I'm waiting to see, and I'm erring on the side of, I think law enforcement has something and the gag order is in place to protect that piece of evidence or those pieces of evidence. And where I'm coming from is I think that, at some point we have to trust that there was an investigation done and that they kind of know what they're doing. They do seem more prepared in court than Anne does, and that is my opinion.
Yeah. I have the same opinion on that, to be honest. You're correct. It did seem like the investigation was. I mean, they talked about a staying trial. That maybe that the guys were, new or whatever. They talked about yesterday in trial, maybe, but it was more like maybe it was some of the people were young and it was some of their first time seeing anything like that. But I would assume it'd be the first time a lot of people had seen anything like that.
Sure. And I mean, this isn't gonna, like, it's a college town, right? I mean, they're probably just cops that are used to doing noise complaints and that sort of thing. They did call in the bigger guns later on. They did process the scene. We saw it. We watched it. It wasn't perfect, but I think this is how these things are done. And, at some point, we can't think that every crime scene is a conspiracy. Like, it's just not,
No,
Yeah.
I agree. I do have faith in law enforcement, like almost all of the time.
Like, I'm full board with like Karen Reed was a conspiracy 100% because there's true evidence to like back that up 100%. I'm like the first person carrying the torch for that. On this one, I'm not bowled over by Anne and her arguments. Like, I'm really going by the arguments. I know that we don't have all the information, so I don't want to jump on a bandwagon too soon. And I just feel like this judge, he probably does have the evidence in front of him. He probably has more than what we have. And
Yeah.
just reading his body language and reading his sort of discernment, he's very careful and he's not siding with the defense.
No, he didn't. I didn't, because we talked with the other prosecutor. I didn't feel like he sided with her either, and I felt like
No.
he fairly questioned both attorneys,
He did.
both sides. That's why I really liked the judge. I felt like his questioning were fair from both attorneys. I felt like the male prosecutor had a much better presentation. I didn't feel like, unfortunately, either of the women brought to the table enough for the judge to find defense for any of the stuff. I highly doubt he's going to grant the motion, the Frank's hearing tomorrow. Why? He didn't have any evidence for it. He basically sided with, that's how it's supposed to go. I'm not going to argue with the Supreme Court.
Right. I mean, the judges typically are quite conservative. Like, they're not going to be groundbreaking. He's aware that this is a very splashy case with a lot of interest. It's got a gag order. You know, it's already been moved to a different venue. He landed in his lap. He's not happy with that.
Yeah, he already said he didn't want to be there.
He didn't want to be there. So I think he's really going to toe the line. He's going to go directly down the middle, be super fair. And what do you guys think is coming up for tomorrow? What do we have to look forward to tomorrow? What are going to be the big moments?
Oh man, I can't wait. I think that the big thing is going to be that it's not there's going to be no Frank's hearing, that he just doesn't have enough evidence for it. So I think that's not going to go in place. And I don't remember what other motion they were trying. What was the other motion? There's three motions.
A bunch of other warrants like Google and Amazon, like those warrants.
Yeah, give it. No. She's not. She again is not, unless she has actual court cases that she's going to bring up and bring right to him and say, here's law that's already been in place for this. This is not the courtroom for that. She's not going to be able to do that.
She's got one argument for 13 things. That's where she's.
Agreed. And it's all a real tangible argument where she's not she's intangible. She's it's just not. It's not being put. She's not picking it up for me. I'm not picking it up. You said that before, Ashley. She's not really.
So I'm just reading sort of the takeaways from today on X here. Judge Hippler has denied Brian Kohberger's motion to unseal a briefing and hearing on investigative genetic genealogy. The defense disputes in Idaho student murders case. His team is attempting to have nearly all the evidence collected by the police against Kohberger thrown out by challenging the legality of the search warrants, including DNA found at the crime scene, which the police compared to the public databases filled with voluntarily submitted DNA. I mean, when you pull back and you take like a 50,000 foot view from it, it is really the truth. Like, I mean, at this point in time, you know, it's really a Hail Mary to ask the court to throw out all the evidence against him. Like, it's just not, not going to happen.
Yeah, no. That was really reaching today. That's why I honestly, watching today, I'm clearly not technically going to be in any sort of jury pool for this, because I clearly not going to get called to the jury though.
Because you're here. Yeah.
Yeah, I like pull the wool over somebody's eyes about that. But I just today almost made me feel like, damn, they should have made that whole thing today not public, because I didn't feel that didn't make me feel confident in Brian's defense, or that he has a defense, or that he's going to be able to be defended.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be difficult, but Eric brings up a good point about the amount of DNA.
Yeah, but they don't even need it. Basically, they say they don't need it.
Well, that's what we will see. That's what I said. Let's get away for the trial. There's probably so much evidence we don't even know about. We learned today about a bunch of things in an hour. Imagine 6 weeks.
No joke. No kidding. Oh my God.
Well, and
Go
that's
ahead.
what we have been saying. That's what our group has been saying. Because I mean, there's different takes all over the internet, right? You're gonna get the people that are full blown, like they're seeing shadow people, and they think that the frat boys killed, all this stuff, right? But we're more sort of down the middle, I would say. Like we because we follow so many trials. I think our group is a little bit more. We've followed all the crazy channels, and like them for entertainment, and like I can see some of it because I like the conspiracies. I like seeing
Yeah.
things from like all angles. But when it comes to reality, like I think in reality, it's all going to come out in trial. I'm grateful that they have a judge that is so conservative and so like knowledgeable about case law, and that he is youthful in the way that he's like able to keep up with the lawyers and really just kind of give it back to them in real time and not just constantly say he's going to look it over and come back in 2 weeks. Like to me, that's very like it really takes the wind out of the sails of the arguments, and I like seeing it in real time. So I think
His
we've got a
recall.
really good
Yeah.
case. I think it's going to be a really good trial. We're going to learn a lot. I think there will be some things that are totally worth questioning. Like I think the PCA, the fact that they weren't forthcoming with the witness statements so much. I don't know how problematic that is. Like I don't know if you're allowed to paraphrase what a witness says and put it in your own words. I thought that it's kind of something where you have to take direct quotes and statements. But I mean, I guess we'll find that out. I guess we'll
Yeah.
find.
Yeah.
Seems fishy. Go ahead, Eric.
I don't know. I just said I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It all seems really fishy, to put it that way. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Ann Taylor is no Alan Dershowitz. You got that right, Ducky.
It would be great if we had more sort of fiery attorneys because they're really fun to follow. Like the Karen Reed case is so dynamic because it really is like it's an attorney like the supermodels of attorneys. Like they're just so good, and it's so fun to watch and listen to, and they can make a mountain out of a molehill, and they can argue like till the cows come home. Whereas these ones, I kind of feel like I'm watching 11th grade debate club.
Yeah, I felt a little kowtow every once in a while. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. All right. Okay, I'll back down. But should we watch the rest of this? It's only got
Let's
like
do it.
4 minutes. Let's check it out.
Get somewhere. That's the subject of the trial. I think the Carpenter case is really instructive for the court here, and that case was about third party with cell towers, and there was a concurring opinion in that case. I think that's instructive. We leave DNA everywhere. If you carry a cell phone and it uses the towers, there can be a trail of where you went.
Everywhere?
I'm sorry?
Don't we leave fingerprints everywhere?
We do leave fingerprints everywhere, but I would say, Your Honor, that things like your movements, cell towers, the contents of your cell phone, those are really personal things. That's how you carry out your business. That's how you drive your car to go to the doctor. Your cell phone's heading on those towers. DNA is even more personal than that. The tests are so different than they used to be now. It can pick up all kinds of information. It takes very little DNA. DNA lives on surfaces a lot longer than fingerprints live on surfaces. So without more, they're not much of an indication of anything. There's a warrant requirement to protect people from unreasonable searches. And that's what we're asserting here. There's so much information contained in your DNA, and you can't stop from shedding that when you go out of your house. None of us can. To be able to have that searched without a warrant could put anybody in jeopardy. There's no privacy left. If that's going to be the standard, you put it in public so it can be searched. That can't be the standard. That would erode the Fourth Amendment. Our position is that there is an expectation of privacy that society is willing to accept. Our position is that there's case law that supports this. Maybe not exactly directly on point, but the court talked about one of the cases that we cited that's similar. It's out of Washington. In that case, it keyed on whether the database was a voluntary, law enforcement can search this or not. In this situation, that's not the case. You know from the exhibit you have and from the testimony that you heard that the FBI went into 2 databases that they weren't permitted to search. So if the court wants to go clear to that extreme, and the court shouldn't, the court should look at the Fourth Amendment. The court should look at expectation of privacy. The court should look at the 3 places there was a warrant required and it wasn't given. But if the court wants to go all the way down to whether or not there was a database searched where the people consented to have their DNA searched, our case is different. The FBI went into 2 other databases and searched those. There was nothing else happening until that happened. And it's instructive, I think, and important for the court to think about how secretive this all was. We are months from trial, and we are learning things about how the government identified Brian today in open court when we've asked for those things. There's a reason why there's so much secrecy. That's because there's a violation of privacy rights. That's why there's so much secrecy. Your Honor, this is an extremely important motion, and the court is going to decide whether we do have any expectation of privacy left or not. The IGG evidence in this case should absolutely be suppressed.
Denied.
I suspect the state's going to raise an issue that you may need to respond to, but I'll let you respond to that if they do raise that issue.
I'll be prepared, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so do you want to be John?
Yep. All right. There we go.
So, question for everybody. What do we think? I mean, obviously this is going to blow up on YouTube, I'm sure. The blood on the handrail, like, just off the top of your guys' head, what do you think that is? Do you think it's anything? Do you think it's a second person? Like, do you have any first impressions of that piece? And was that supposed to come out today? What do you think?
I think that's horrifying. The thought of the person that she saw coming down the stairs having blood on them is not hard to imagine, though. So, like, we know there would be a lot of blood. There was a lot of blood. So think the person, and the way the judge put it, of the person could have easily stripped off their clothes and put them in a bag and left the house. Like, he just basically went ahead and laid that out there in case they wanted to make that part of their case. Like, it was, I mean, truth. That's the truth. That would have been easy. Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Robert Hansen was the butcher baker in Alaska. He picked up prostitutes.
Oh.
Ladies of the night, and he flew them in his like small plane and hunted them. It was pretty crazy. And he owned a bakery in Anchorage, and we ate at the restaurant next door when I was a kid. Not the bakery, never tried it, but I mean, it's crazy. That's so gross. Anyways, back to Idaho. Sorry.
So Eric, what do you think about the blood on the handrail? Is that anything? Was it supposed to come out today? What do you think?
I don't think it's gonna turn into anything.
Yeah,
Because like I said, it's unknown, And didn't they have like two unknown DNAs they found in the room that
They did.
nothing came out of too?
I believe that would be what they were talking about, but do you think it was more?
I don't know. That's all we heard was two, but maybe there could be more. And
Okay.
I don't think this crime, if Brian did it, he didn't do it alone. That's my opinion on the whole thing. I think it's impossible to do
Uh-huh.
it alone,
Uh-huh.
especially with the cleanup, taking the clothes off, putting them like, you can't do that alone. That's not in that quick a time.
Suspect vehicle numbered 1.
I mean, I think it's gonna be. See, this is why the gag order. This is why the gag order is in place. Is because this is like the first night. Obviously, there's still people playing the hearing in full. There hasn't been time for people to go wild with this story, but I think it's gonna be the next big thing that everybody talks about. People are gonna be up in arms about it, and
Mm-hmm.
now there's a second person. Who's the second person? Like, we have to, in my mind, after watching, I think we've watched so many like court proceedings now, and really it's the prosecution and the defense that you have to watch, because they're the ones with all the information. They're the people that have all the information. They know what the main points are going to be that are going to come up, and they're clearly focusing the most on the DNA and the
Uh-huh.
PCA, and
Mm-hmm.
these are the things that they're the most focused on. If this would have been a slam dunk, having a fingerprint or a handprint or a bloody, another piece of evidence in the house somewhere, it would have been probably the first thing to get leaked out, and we would have been hearing about it nonstop from Anne, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, definitely. It would be leaked out if there was, you know, if it was a big deal. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, it could be anybody's blood. They have parties all the time, and plus it didn't match anything. And
Yeah. Yeah, no, it honestly felt like reaching, scrambling, and a little bit like what did we see that day? Was it Jay-Z who got kind of his attorney got a little bit shut down?
Yeah, yeah. Well, for
Yeah.
being so argumentative, right?
Yeah, but I almost feel like today a lot of it was not. It wasn't a thing. It shouldn't have been a thing. It was. I mean, her cases, her. She had nothing substantial to bring today, in my opinion. I felt.
Well,
Except,
Anne's whole approach has been, to argue this in the court of public opinion, and to basically come at it from a point of view of, the Idaho police are suspect, right?
yeah,
And before you do that in a courtroom, you really have to have that evidence, because we saw with the Karen Reed trial, they had the evidence. They have the FBI on their side, and you still can't really win with that argument unless you have slam dunk evidence. So, I think she better stick to the actual facts, because this judge is not going to go down this conspiracy. The cops are in on it rabbit hole.
yeah, and look at this great point from Ducky. What's always bothering me? Multiple cars at house Saturday night. Girls likely have boyfriends sleeping over. Yet that was the time the unaliver picks to unalive a target. Yeah, yeah. Not when there's like people out of town or
Yeah.
something. It's when there's like a practical full house of people and a guy there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Not opportune.
She says, I felt like she looked terribly unprepared for argument before a judge. Yeah.
I did too. When she said, "I'm going to need 5 minutes for that," after asking for it, I thought, "What?"
And there will be people that think she did a great job. Like, there are going to be that side of people that think that she's crushing it. And they really think that, there's so much here. I think that, what we're doing is following the evidence and being careful and cautious, because, look, I mean, like, it's sort of like with the Kansas moms case. Like, the police did find somebody, they got the person. I mean, did some police work, right? And no matter what case it is, I feel like any kind of salacious case, people instantly come back on the cops and the investigators and they call them corrupt or they try to throw shade at them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a tough case. I mean, this had to have been extremely traumatic for the officers attending the scene. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I've
Yeah.
heard that the scene was like the most bloody, disgusting, like horrible scene, you know,
Yeah. Oh,
imaginable. And I just think you got to be so careful before you start calling people corrupt, really.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially like the right, like some of the most important people that we've got on the case.
Like, who's
They're
ever gonna want to be a cop with the way that people talk about? I mean, like these people are just trying to, solve these awful murder cases, and it's terrible. But I've gained a little bit of empathy for them because, I mean, hey, I mean, I'm a nurse and I work around some hard scenes sometimes, and you like the cops, they come on these things, and it's not their regular thing. It's not an everyday thing, like where you see a quadruple homicide.
oh my
And
God, no.
like
No, definitely not.
Not in
that
that
would
town. No.
be
Not even in
absolutely.
New York or Chicago, you don't see that shit.
Yeah, and they knew these people too, right? Like, I mean, they'd attended that home before. They'd been
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
sometimes I watch these shows and I realize it's all for entertainment purposes only, and it's on YouTube, and they're just reaming into these officers, and the officers are like in their 30s. They're trying to
Yeah.
solve this
Yeah.
case, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, they have got no reason to be conspiratorial. It's not like the Karen Reed case where there's another cop involved and all this, like there's all this intrigue, right? I mean, this is a real scary case, and everybody was doing their best and they were following the evidence, and the evidence will speak for itself, and people just need to be a little bit more level-headed, I think, in this case. That's why there was a gag order.
Right. And that's why I can't go sit in the courtroom.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a brutal crime. You gotta look at who would do a brutal crime like this.
Yeah, I mean, I have a problem with I've always had I know we're going a little long, but it was a long day today, so I don't think that's a problem. If it's a problem, then we can always shut her down. But I've always had an issue with Brian's alibi, like the fact that he was out and about at that time. I've always
Yeah.
had an issue with it. Was always a red flag for me,
Phone
because
turned off.
the phone
Phone
turned
turned
off.
off.
He's at a closed park. Like, remember when Anne came out and she said his alibi is going to exonerate him, right?
Uh-huh. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That
No.
was something she said. She said his alibi would exonerate him. Well, he was driving around with his phone off in a closed park. So to me, that's strike one against Anne and her arguments, because that didn't exonerate anything. If anything, that fell so flat for me,
So
you
flat.
know.
And think about, like, we were talking about this earlier, Pacific Northwest. That guy's going for a run in a park in Moscow, Idaho. That is the wilderness. It's basically the wilderness, going for a run in the wilderness. He's going to turn his phone off and go for a run. He's not going to put on
Yeah.
headphones. He's not going to put in earbuds. He's just going to silently run in the dark. I don't know if
How
that's a
strange.
thing. And it was winter time,
Yeah.
it's gotta be
Most
cold.
people have
And
their
I
Spotify, it's
I
like,
couldn't find that park online to see if it was plowed for running. Like, you know what I mean? That's what I was thinking. Like, was that even accessible?
stargazing. He was stargazing. I mean, stargazing to me, when you're alone, is not really an alibi. It's just like, trust me, that's what I was doing. An alibi
Right.
to me is like, it's something you can verify. It's something where you could not be
100%.
somewhere else. It doesn't mean that you're just going to kind of say you were out doing something and there's no verification of it. I mean,
No, I picked up donuts. Here's my receipt.
Yeah.
Something, anything.
yeah.
It's a
Gas.
red flag.
Yeah, the turning off the phone thing to me is so sus because it's not his phone battery died. They can tell that he literally turned it off. Like I turn my phone off when I need an update. I'm sure that would be an available thing for them to know as well. They would say, "Look, at this time when she turned her phone off, it needed an update." You know what I mean? All
And
that's
you could prove it if he does it all the time. There would be a pattern.
right. Agreed. Agreed
This
with
is the
that.
first day he did that, the same night as a quadruple homicide.
Yeah.
So there should be a pattern every couple days, even if it's every 2 weeks. You should see some kind of pattern.
I love that, Eric. Exactly.
That's why I don't get her suppressing his phone records. They can exonerate him if you're not full of shit. That's why I think that he's guilty. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
if he didn't do anything, you don't need to suppress anything because there's no what's there.
Which is why her grasping at straws all this afternoon. That's what it felt like. It felt like I'm going to try to pull out all the smallest unverified legalities I can figure out before we get into the actual court or something. I didn't understand a lot of what she brought today. I feel like it was almost, like I said before, a little bit of that Busby, knock it off, whatever.
Yeah, I'd really love, because I don't want us to come across only one way. Like, I would love for us to have somebody up here who, really sees the innocence in these arguments,
100%.
because I
100%.
don't personally see it, because I am looking at it from a point of view of, like, I don't have enough information to say one way or another. But what I am saying is I do think that to me, her argument it didn't win the judge over. The judge is very conservative in that regard. Like it has to be, cut and dry, obviously winnable argument. And she didn't win him over today. He
Right.
really dressed her down quite a few times about that.
Uh-huh.
I do think that there are questions about the DNA for sure. I think in court they can probably make it make sense, like touch DNA, explain the size of it. I think there are arguments, but I would love to hear from somebody who really thinks that this was a slam dunk today, because I know that they exist. I know that they exist. I know I'm going to see them. I know that people are going to say, that this is a big win for the defense.
Ann's fight is legit. They got that DNA illegally. That's totally legit. They got his name on a tip, and then they worked backwards. Totally. That's my opinion. Just the way they did it. Whether he did it or not, the tip is true, but the way they got it, it's totally illegal.
Why is working backwards necessary, legal? Is it not an investigative tool? They thought they can break that down. Think about it like this. They here's the DNA of that person. All they really need to do is pull up the DNA of that person within that somehow related to somebody within this small amount of mileage. Like they're not spread out and looking off, using it to look across the entire country at every single person, every place, and every DNA sample ever. They're looking at this specific whatever amount of DNA they may have possibly pulled off a brass buckle that lasted for 8 or 10 hours or whatever. I don't see that. I don't.
For one, they got the information from after him in 6 hours, where it takes forever to get that stuff. You don't get it in 6 hours.
Correct.
And so someone gave them his name, and then they said, "Oh, this is his car." So now we're looking for this. And then that's why it took them so long to get let's go find some DNA, planted or something. It could be planted.
Yeah. Yep.
I just think they went totally backwards. You wanted to hear the other side? I just think they got all that information. I mean, the chip might be right. He might have did it, but the way they went about the DNA and everything, that's not legal.
Yeah. So why is it that the judge isn't finding that it's not legal?
Because there's precedent for it to be legal.
Because I think, yeah, exactly. I think
Eric's saying it's not legal in his opinion.
Oh,
but
no, it's not legal. They proved that it wasn't. They used things that you weren't allowed to use.
Well, if it's not legal, then why is the judge not saying that's illegal?
Judge
Because he
disagrees.
thinks it's a quadruple homicide, and if they got the killer, he wants the killer prosecuted.
I think the judge sees that there's actual legal precedent already sent per the prosecution, and he knows. Oh, and he had his recall of the case information was infinite. That
And I also,
it felt like he could he knew what he was talking about. He's had a lot of time to read this case, so he I feel like the judge was on it. He wasn't going to let that happen.
I also think an expert will come in and like could debunk it. And he's not, he's off the hook. You know what I mean? Like whatever.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I let
yeah.
it. Because
Agreed.
if he doesn't let it in, the whole piece, all the warrants are all bad because that's how they arrested him. So like,
Yeah, I think she's going about it the wrong way. What she should
Exactly.
be going about it with is telling this other story that we put in place here, where we can place other characters within the settings.
simple. You get an expert to explain it all.
Yeah.
To the jury.
Who?
Well, they got and there's experts out there, DNA experts. They had one at the Wade Wilson. You'll see that expert. Boy, Wade Wilson, he was death penalty. They had 7 pieces of clothing with his DNA tied to him on it. Like,
Well, yeah. Well, he like
not some buckle that they got from his uncle 3 generations away. You know what I mean? Like, look at it like that.
But that's a slam dunk case. This is a circumstantial case without. They don't have a confession. They don't have the same evidence. They don't have him on. It's a totally different type of a case. Obviously, they would want a case like that, but they don't have that. So they have to go with what the evidence is here.
But I'm saying the DNA isn't good evidence, in my opinion.
That's wild.
This is what they've got. This is what they're gonna have to make a case, and they may have more than that. From the sounds of it, there is more. And I found it very telling when the prosecution said we weren't even really gonna go with that. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's my point too. Like, that's why I don't think the judge cares either. He's like, if they're gonna present a case and he's innocent, they'll present a case. I'm gonna, but I'm not gonna knock the whole warrant out because they found this something that they said is his DNA on it. That's a legal warrant
Mm-hmm.
to bring him to trial. A grand jury indicted him too, so it ain't like
Mm-hmm. Well, he's throwing it. Anne's doing her job. Like, for all my dislike of her, just in general, just her vibe and just the way she tries to create a mountain out of a molehill. I will say she is doing the job that she was hired to do. That is what you would want your lawyer to do if you had, an uphill battle the way that he has, in my opinion. And she's trying. But from my standpoint, I'm going to need to see more before I think he is innocent or not involved in some way. I mean, there's some involvement, in my opinion, whether he did it alone or didn't do it alone. Like, that, I think he's involved.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I can't. I do. There's so many. There's all the pieces that could fit into place in the puzzle, and
He's too quiet for sitting in jail for 2 years.
This is too. Exactly. Nobody else has been murdered since he's been in jail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's actually big. That's actually big. That's notable because it's a pretty huge crime, and usually people like that, unless it's obviously there's the cartel aspect of things where people think it's some sort of redemption crime. But if it was a crazed person who gets off on doing these sort of like crimes against women type thing, this would be something that would be hard to suppress, right?
Mm-hmm. And you'd think if that was the case, you're in that town with 2 colleges and other colleges not that far, where you'd find plenty of other females that you could offend against.
And he's 29 years old. Like, why do you wait so long?
Why he what?
Why do you wait so long if he's this crazy killer? He's 29.
Maybe he's also an opportunist.
Well, I have a question for you guys. And chat too, who is a witness you're excited to hear testify for you guys? For me, it's like obviously going to be the the roommates, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But you know who I'm really actually interested to hear is Ramslin, Dr. Ramslin.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be really good. Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just going to be all science, though. And
She's not only an
Still.
expert, but she's had personal interactions with Brian Kohberger, and he was selected out of like thousands of people to be like a protege for her.
Yeah, yeah, that's impressive. So
Uh-huh.
impressive. That's insanity, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got skills. He knows what he's you do think he knows what he's doing, I guess, as far as being his own best. Um,
I want to hear the Hunter Johnsons.
what was that?
They got Hunter Johnson, the guys that were first on the scene.
Oh yeah, yeah, that will be interesting.
I want
Definitely.
to hear
Get to
why they
Dr.
didn't.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying why they didn't call the cops and like things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get to Ducking Point. You are right. The late 20s, well, early 20s, late 20s is when like mental illness really does come
True.
to a real fruition. And it does sound like he was struggling. I mean, he definitely had those um, conversations about his visual snow and potentially some erratic
Yeah, that's weird.
behaviors. It sounds like some OCD as well, because there's veganism, but then there's also OCD. And it sounds like he really did struggle with OCD, which can be crippling, actually.
But that's not the plea.
What about
No,
that
we're just talking about mental illness in
Oh
general.
yeah,
no,
we
I'm just saying when she testifies, if she says anything like that, that's not the plea. Like it's meaningless.
she could be a character witness.
She's only going to say
Uh,
good things about him, in my opinion.
Yeah, she could be a character witness. I don't know what else she would be up there for if she's not part of the case.
I to answer to get to Ducking Point, do you think Ramslin wants to testify? I bet she fights it. Yes, I think she wants to testify. She has inserted herself in serial killer and killer cases
Yeah, good
um,
point.
for her whole entire life. So this will be probably the pinnacle of her career because she was personally involved with BK, and she probably will write a book. She will probably go on to discuss this case in conjunction with the BTK, and I think she will be a expert witness. I think of if anyone's an
Mm,
expert witness, it's going to be
mm.
her. So I think this is her wheelhouse, and I think she will want to testify. But that's just my opinion.
I like your opinion. I hope that happens. I'm not sure I share it, but I hope that happens.
Trouble with interpersonal relationships, especially with students in class. Yeah. I mean, one would think though it would be a very professional interpersonal relationship because they were working on, his PhD and he was pretty fascinated by her. I mean, he
Hmm.
does have some markers of somebody that would be,
Oh, definitely.
listed in a crime like this.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I thought I remember we talked about his visual snow and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then with the Luigi, that was part of his.
Right.
That was there. He had
Right.
visual snow, so like, does that clearly that's not the same thing? Is that part of a psychosis though? Because how old was Luigi? I can look it up.
Well, I mean, from a medical standpoint, and just as like I did a little bit of psych, right? I mean, the difficulty sleeping, the running in the middle of the night, that suggests disruption, like thought
Hmm.
disruption,
Hmm.
and it suggests somebody that has uncontrollable thoughts potentially, because a
Hmm.
lot of times what people do who aren't medicated and are experiencing obsessive thoughts is they try to manage it with being physical or getting out of like they don't sleep very well. Nighttime's a very difficult time. So,
Hmm.
mhm.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. You clearly know what you're talking about. Like, that's funny though. It's so true. All these people that you hear about that are troubled murderers. They always have some sort of weird sleep things going on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes on, I think, before somebody, goes ahead and commits some type of quadruple murder. And
Yeah.
you're gonna see some disruption in general, in behavior. And like you're gonna look at, you know, um, like their general well-being. How are they interacting? How are they sleeping? How are they eating? Sounds like he had just general disruptions. Yeah.
Yeah, he had been let go from the PhD program, and it sounded to me like uh, if you're let go from that program, you're probably maybe not going to be with the school anymore either. That'd be my guess. I would assume that you were working there to and going to school in conjunction.
Then you kill the teacher.
What was that?
Then you would kill the teacher.
Kill the teachers, I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you go kill 4 kids if that like where your mind is?
Yeah.
I don't think we could ever put ourselves in the place of anyone who could kill four innocent people.
Oh, jeez, no. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I can't. I watched so many videos, and then I knew we were talking about this tonight, and I watched a few videos that were from a couple years ago. And it's still so gross and weird and just absolute insanity. I can't imagine being that age and being anywhere within that hemisphere of people. You'd
I
just
know.
you'd be kind of messed up, right?
Yeah. What did you guys think of BK's overall appearance in court? I mean, his demeanor.
He looked diminutive.
Diminutive?
Diminutive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. 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 I agree for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird actually because I couldn't see the woman sitting next to him. Anne's chair looks large. Anne doesn't look like that tall of a person, but Brian looked thinner than the last time I'd seen him. But maybe that's just me seeing a million pictures of Brian, and I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe I just am going, not seeing him clearly every time. I guess it's possible. What do you think?
I think he's way too quiet to be innocent.
That's my feeling too, is like he doesn't look bothered. Like if I'm in that court and I'm like, you know he's not in court all that often, so it's not like he's like, oh, here we go, another day. Like I'm being, on trial for a quadruple murder. My head would be on a swivel. I would be, Karen Reed, I mean, she's an extreme example of this, but her facial expressions are like, come the fuck on. She's not having it a lot of the time. You can just feel the, like, get me the fuck out of here, like, vibe that she has, right?
Oh
Excuse
yeah, I
my
want to play
French.
poker. I definitely want
But
to play poker with her.
right, I know. But he's stoic. He's just there. He's just like, like head straight ahead. It's almost like he is feeling nothing, and that gives me the chills.
Yeah, do we think his hands were in shackles?
I mean, he could be. It should be, probably. I mean, he's a dangerous criminal according to them.
Right. I guess he could jump up and grab a pen or something. I don't know. I thought it was interesting because we were talking about that earlier. I never saw him move his arms at all. And it was suggested that maybe he was shackled. And I thought that's really interesting because I know they allowed him to wear that suit, right? That was an allowance. So
Uh-huh.
he is a dangerous, allegedly, he's a dangerous criminal. I couldn't see it either, Dougie. Couldn't see it either.
Well, and don't forget, he's also a black belt, is he not?
Oh yeah,
No, he's not a black belt.
no, but he's into something, right? He's into some
Did a
sort of.
little bit of boxing. He ain't a tough guy. I mean,
right.
he did a little bit of boxing. I mean,
I think a little bit of boxing, and he's a runner. He should have like.
that's what he is. He's a runner. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
a runner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can like say there's definitely going to be some upper body strength involved, you know?
Right.
But I mean, we don't know. I'm really interested in seeing his demeanor in court. I'm really interested in seeing DM. We've never seen her speaking. I don't think I personally have never seen her in motion. I've only seen photos of her, so I'm interested to see what her personality is. She's just a young woman in photos to me. I don't have any way of, everybody's just a smiling young cute girl. They're all like really beautiful young ladies. I can't have any way of knowing. I can't wait to see what their personalities are like. Is it gonna be straightforward? Is she gonna be like, I never said the word clad? You know, like what's her personality gonna be?
Right.
I bet she's a little badass.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping
Drug
but
dealer, kind of like tough girl.
maybe yeah. It'll be interesting to hear. And some of the young men that we thought were, you know, suspects, if they had what you guys wait, go back. Do they have like 400 and something witnesses? Was something that was
Yeah, the 400 witnesses, that's true. And also they have a lot of they took a lot of evidence from his parents' home and his home. I want to know what the books were that he has. He had like certain pages that they had specifically looked at. I want to know about the Amazon orders. I mean, there's a lot of circumstantial that we know about, and I really want to see how they tie it together for us in court. I really hope that they can paint a picture, tie it together, make it make sense. I wonder if there will not be a surprise like plea, the way that Ducky had potentially said could happen, because that wouldn't surprise me, especially if the DNA stays in, because this is their big moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not, an Alfred plea would not surprise me. It's 100% possible. It's got to be done in the beginning, though, right? It's got to be put in before we go to trial. If there's to be out, am I wrong?
Yeah, there is no trial if you do Alfred plea.
Right, that's right. Because you're not saying you did it, but you're not saying you didn't do it. You're saying you can't win. You're saying you can't win here, and you're
so
gonna.
It feels like Anne is going, here's all the strings I'm gonna pull. Here's everything I'm gonna tug at. Here's everything I'm gonna tug at. Let's get to the end of this period of pre-trial motions and hearings, and see how close we can get to getting some of these thrown out that are you're definitely gonna get in trouble here.
Right.
You know, like
I think it's going to trial.
I wanted to go to trial because I want to know what happened.
Me too. I'm so nosy.
He won't get killed for 25 years anyway.
He what?
He won't get the death penalty for 25 years anyway.
Ducky says, I think BK is, enjoying the process. He failed out the PhD program. Now has all the time in the world to focus on defense, not have to think about his job and provide for himself in the real world. Yeah.
True.
Is that true? He failed out? Do we get documents on him failing out?
I think
he was in the process of being kicked out for some particular reason. There's some
allegedly.
Yeah, there's some background to that, or at least his teacher's assistant job. He was being looked at for being taken out of that one.
Yeah, definitely I heard that, but I didn't hear he failed out.
Well, we can look at it for next time. I mean, we're back tomorrow, I think, because we've got the second portion of this is coming up tomorrow. What do you guys think is happening tomorrow? What's the big moments? Any
Oh, I can't wait. I don't know. I know I want to predict something, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know, and I'm excited to find out.
I think Anne may spill a little more beans.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
she's gonna if she's gonna spill beans, it's gonna be tomorrow because she knows she's losing right now, in my opinion. Right? So the Hail Marys are gonna come tomorrow. This is my prediction. um, Anything that they want spilled out for the public, because I think what Anne is doing, I don't think a lot of her testimony or her arguments are necessarily for the judge. I think they're for us and they're for the people who are the fringe, um, folks who say that everyone's corrupt and BK is innocent, and that he's being framed for no apparent reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that they're for those people because that's what they have to go on, and she's going to throw breadcrumbs out for people so that people can extrapolate that and create their own narrative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Agreed.
Because she's losing the actual arguments that they have on paper. Like she's not getting the IGG's not going to get thrown out.
No,
Yeah, she's definitely losing.
she did not win today. Yeah, that's why I feel like tomorrow when he's whatever consideration he didn't. There's no documentation that came out after court. There's nothing released later, so I don't even know.
Well, it ain't over. It's a 2-day thing. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I know that, but I just meant like what's going to happen. Like he's going to have a decision on this tomorrow. Was my assumption, and then we're going to make whatever other motion they had. I swear there was another. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's just to be continued tomorrow, and he's going to rule.
Really?
What do you think, Eric?
No, are they going to bring out the Google, Amazon? There's like a couple more warrants that she's trying to get knocked down for privacy. Geez. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's going to be like, I don't know, Google, Amazon. I don't know what else they have. Did they do AT&T today?
No.
AT&T. Well, then they're going to do that.
What privacy
they're going to talk about the case stuff.
What?
For the case information she's going to bring up, like his car going by the house 12 times. She brought that up today a little bit.
Yeah.
She said the car never stopped there.
Right.
And that he lives 10 minutes away. It's going to happen. Like.
Sure. Yeah. I agree with that. I do agree with that. It'd be hard
to do things
to pick
like
up
that.
One of those towers.
The car will be interesting. The car is something that I know Sarge brings up a lot. It's something that it's a point of contention that I can't argue because I'm not that big a car person, even though my family's big car people. I don't really understand like exactly what it is that they're so bent out of shape about, but they seem to think that the cars don't match, that the years don't match, and
that's because they put out certain like 3 or 4 grouping of years that are probably clearly the same body style, and then they went ahead and found a car like just right outside of that body style.
Right. So,
and then it's hard to believe, but at the same time, we all agree that the police probably have a good idea of what they're looking for.
And not one hair in the car either. Not one hair. Nothing.
Not even his hair?
They took the whole thing apart. It's his car.
Was there
Obviously,
anybody else's hair? That's
nothing. Nobody else's stuff.
Earlier. Yeah. Like, is there other things?
Remember Nancy Grace? It was going to be a petri dish.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. But again, the judge said that. Well, why can't you just go ahead and put it in a bag and walk on out? I did watch a video a long time ago. I have no idea who the creator is. I apologize. That person timed themselves. It wasn't JLR, was it? The person went in the house, and timed themselves. Going from like how much time it would take to have whatever outfit on, put plastic down on the ground, stand over the plastic, take all those clothes off, wrap it in plastic, put it in a bag, dress yourself in other clothes. It was no time at all. And get out and not leave any blood trace or anything.
Your first time doing it too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a ninja.
He's not Dexter. Somebody watch Dexter.
Right? Maybe.
Well,
exactly.
It's going to be very interesting. I mean, this is why I think everybody needs to hang on for the trial, is because we're learning so much, and there's still a gag order. So imagine when there's no more gag order.
Yeah, I want to speculate all of the things. I love all the speculation. It's super interesting. I love true crime stuff, but at the same time, this is so. I mean, it's so soon. We're gonna have so much information. We're
You know what
like,
I always thought?
huh?
He's a runner, right?
Yeah,
And he's a criminal justice student. He wouldn't use this car. I think he would go there and he would run when he left. And he could go hide somewhere, take his clothes off. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Why not?
Go run to the place where he goes stargazing and get rid of all his shit. He can
Yeah,
run 9-10 miles easy, easy.
I want to
yeah.
know why that knife was never found. Where's that knife?
And we still don't know if they do have it, but they just haven't talked about it. What if that's possible? What if that's sealed?
That would be huge.
Yeah,
That would be massive.
it seemed today within the testimony or within the discussion, at least, it did not seem like they do have a knife, though. From what the knife discussion I heard today, the little snippets.
What time is
Right.
trial tomorrow? Early, 9 o'clock.
I'm guessing they say, it starts 9:30, but we'll see.
Yeah, but
Today
it's open tomorrow. I don't think they'll have the runaround
I
like
don't
we got
see
today.
anything on their website about what time tomorrow. I could go look at the Idaho courts thing, but online they just have today's, but they don't say anything about what they're doing tomorrow. What time? But I'm guessing I'm gonna start checking at like 9:30 in the morning. I'm sure there's someplace. I probably can check the court docket here. Let me look.
Well, this is gonna be good.
Emily and Lana did a good job covering it today.
Yeah, we're watching it. I'm watching it on Emily D. Baker's channel. I can't say enough good things about her. I'll share the link for tomorrow if anyone wants to follow along with us. Some of our girls watch on Lana, and Lana has a completely different take,
Yeah.
obviously. But whatever you're into. I mean, God bless the people that believe in his innocence. Like they are absolutely like gangbusters. I'm hoping that we can get somebody up here to chat with us and
That'd be
give us
great.
that perspective.
Definitely, because we've all gone through all the perspectives. In my opinion, it's been hard not to.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I started off as just totally like they have the wrong person and all that stuff, but as you watch more trials, you kind of see it from the law enforcement perspective a little bit more and get a little bit more conservative in your views.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree completely. And it's been weird to watch it because I felt the same way. Like this couldn't possibly be it. I really do love some. I mean, I've not fallen. That's not even the right word. I've followed along with several different theories. There's this even that I really like as a possibility, and maybe it's still possible. We'll see.
I agree. And in Justin Bieber news, Justin Bieber
Yeah, tell us.
he is following Haley. I know he unfollowed her this week. It was this big Justin Bieber splashy news. But I think they just had like a fight. Like he's just so messy sometimes. He like unfollowed Haley and then he refollowed her and he put in his story that somebody hacked him, which they totally didn't do that. I think they're
Yeah,
just
you know
fighting.
that did happen. Huh? No.
But they're
No.
but I think they're just trying to get attention. They're probably eating caviar and laughing about it somewhere. So anyways, I just wanted to insert a little bit of Bieber into the moment. And
Oh, I appreciate that because I mean we didn't even bring it back up and to retouch on the fires are still going on in California, and there is a new one. There was a new one today or yesterday. It sprung up, and whenever it sprung up, the Hughes fire, the last time I looked, it was already at 10,000 acres,
Wow.
which is straight insanity, right? Like, oh, I guess I started looking at something else. I don't know what happened here. I looked to the left.
Wow.
guess.
And are we getting declassified on the JFK, RFK, and MLK assassination files? Are we gonna
Yes,
follow
yes, we
that
are.
if those
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
declassified, guys?
Definitely. I want to.
Would you
Yeah,
guys
JFK,
would you guys,
definitely.
Yeah, let's hear it.
would you guys want to talk about that and have kind of a breaking news story and
Yeah.
jump on that?
What do you think, Happy
Definitely.
and Ducky? What do you guys think? That sounds like fun, right?
Yeah, Ashley, and hope you're practicing your backup singer moves for Bieber. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna spend all my money just following him around the world when he goes on his tour. Yeah, awesome coverage. Oh, you're so sweet, Ducky. We love that you're here.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Jeff.
thank you. Thanks for
And
chatting with us.
Ducky forever.
Yeah, we're big Ducky
Happy you're the
We
best.
got your back.
fans.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure we do.
Thanks, Happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be so interesting. I mean, that's going to be like the breaking news of all the breaking news when the JFK stuff and the Martin Luther King stuff comes out. Do you guys think that's going to be bad for your country or good for your country?
Oh,
Divisive or what?
this is a touchy time frame to
Yeah.
know. I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm sure it some of it's going to just be alarming, and then some of it may just be so presumptive that I mean, who cares? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to say the least, right?
Exactly. Interesting.
Yes. Yes.
Do you think at this point people will be shocked by anything or no?
No. Sorry.
Half the country won't even pay attention to it.
No, yeah, yeah. The Don't Look Up movie comes to mind. The news people that literally said that the orbs, drones, whatever had been there quite often. People just had been looking, like that sort of like, yeah, maybe just look away type of situation.
Wow. People are just exhausted. This news cycle has been wild. I mean, and Ducky says, good for the country. Truth is always best in the sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
agreed.
I mean,
agreed. Yeah, no, not bad by any means. Just wild. Just interesting and wild.
People look for cheap gas, cheap groceries.
Yeah, people are looking forward to that.
Oh, man.
There is one thing. I mean, I think it is better to know the truth than have people speculate. Maybe that's kind of a little bit more along the lines of what we're even talking about with Idaho. It's like, we know this was a terrible crime, right? But it'll be nice to like actually get the truth rather than have all these like wild speculations and wild stories that people have come up with, because people are talking about it anyways. So let's just talk about the facts, right?
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Cool.
Yep.
Alrighty.
So
well, thanks for the convo, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
That was
Appreciate
great
you all
today, and it was great talking to you guys. And I can't wait to find out what we hear tomorrow. We'll talk about it then.
We'll be back tomorrow.
We'll be back.
Good night,
Good
night.
Good night, guys.
Appreciate you all.